that took them out of poverty. I made something like $95,000. Most I ever made there, I think, was $135,000. They gave the president a raise the 6th year. But that was all part of Notre Dame. He did not say one thing that would keep us from winning. He didn't say you could only play with 8. Everybody else had 11. What he did say, there's going to be problems, difficulties, and obstacles in anything you do. Now, when I was at Notre Dame, we didn't have good football facilities. They didn't want to improve because they didn't want to be in the arms race. We played the most difficult schedule we could find. That was just Notre Dame. We could not bring an athlete on campus until his second 6 weeks of senior year, which meant he had to come on campus in December for the first time, and all the snow and everything else. But Notre Dame had to make a few changes. They had to make a change on recruiting when you could tell a kid that he would be admissible to Notre Dame. Why? Because so many athletes were making commitments their junior year, and that put Notre Dame to the rest of the things they've changed, but they didn't need to. You can win at Notre Dame. Make no mistake about it. If you get the right leader there. Who's the right leader? It's a guy who's run a successful college program for a couple years. Frank Leahy, number 2 in the country at Boston College, Eric Parsegian at Northwestern, Dan Devine at Missouri, Lou Holtz at Minnesota, Arkansas, and other places now. You can't go hire a high school coach. Jerry Fouts and Terry Brennan, 2 of the most beautiful people here, they're not ready there. You can't go
Too much pressure, too much to do.
And they don't have the experience. And I'll get to that in 1 minute. But you take a Charlie Weiss, a Bob Davies, I'm sure good coaches. But there's so much pressure, and it isn't, well, you got to win or we're going to shoot you. You just feel an obligation because you've been to Notre Dame. Most people in the stands, I mean, it's not like, well, I'm going to have a drink and I'll forget about it. I mean, they live and die with the success of Notre Dame, and so do the student body.
I think some people are going to jump off some bridges, after a loss. That's how,
When a student pays his tuition, they think that entitles them to at least one national championship during their tenure there. But when my first year, we won 5 games and lost 6. And yet we lost 5 games by a total of 14 points to teams that finished in the top 15 in the country. And, that wasn't very good. But they lost to Miami 58-6, the last game the preceding year before I got there. But here's the point. I believed in what we're doing. I knew that our policy, our plan, our formula would win as soon as we converted all the players into believing it. There wasn't one element of doubt that I was going to change our offense, going to change the way we did that, because I knew it would work if we give it time.
Can Kelly be a winner?
Yes. Kelly can be a winner because he has won in other places. He's been successful at Cincinnati. He started out, I think, at Grand Valley State and then Central Michigan. He's won every place he's been. I think he understands it. Yes, I have a very good feeling about him, and he understands, and he believes in what he's doing. And it'll be a matter of time, but he will win a national championship at the University of Notre Dame. There's no doubt about it. I've spent a lot of time with Brian. I've watched his team. And it goes back. You're always going to have good athletes in Notre Dame. I mean, you can go to a tailgate at Notre Dame, give a holler, and get 12 great football players going to want to come there. You will always have talent at that institution. It's getting them to accept their role. That you aren't there to go in the NFL. You're there to get an education. You're there to be part of Notre Dame's history. It's not about me. When you walk in the room, your attitude isn't, hey, here I am, look at me. Your attitude, I'm at Notre Dame. There's certain obligations, responsibilities, and I'm going to fulfill them.
A lot of people compare Notre Dame with the Yankees. And, this year we have the Yankees, in Yankee Stadium, hosting Notre Dame. What do you feel about that tradition? I mean, how big is that game going to be? What do you think about? What do you think about that kind of environment, that kind of situation? What does that do for the program?
I think when people talk about great traditions and national favorites, they talk about Notre Dame, the New York Yankees, the Boston Celtics. I mean, these are just traditional places where you might have downs. You'll have a lot more ups than you'll have downs. But I thought George Steinbrenner, who I first met him, was an assistant football coach at Northwestern University, and I followed the Yankees. I think he's one of the finest people, one of the most generous people I've ever seen. I never called on George Steinbrenner to help us at a charitable cause that he didn't be so gracious.
Now, did George ever come to any games when you were coaching?
Yeah, he came to some games at Notre Dame. He loved Notre Dame.
Big football fan.
Big football fan. He loved Notre Dame. Matter of fact, this spring, the Yankees were playing the Baltimore Royals in an exhibition game, and my son Skip, who's head coach at Tampa, was asked to throw out the first pitch. So I went over there with the grandchildren center, and George found out I was there and asked me to come up in his box. And Reggie Jackson was there, and we got a chance to spend about an hour and a half with George. And I was really amazed how well he was doing. I'd seen him about 2 years before that in Minnesota. We both spoke at a fundraiser for
Harvey McKay, or?
No, Harvey McKay was involved with it, but this was for Sid Hartman.
Right, that's correct.
And Sid Hartman loved three people. He loved George Steinbrenner, he loved Bobby Knight, and for whatever reasons known only to God, he loved me. And Bud Grant, the four. And so we all went back, and I was back this summer to celebrate his 90th birthday, but I saw George in, and then of course his health really went down badly the last couple of years, but he was doing amazingly well.
Sure, a little bit of a Yankee fan.
Oh yeah, I'm a baseball fan. I grew up following baseball, but I was more a Cleveland Indian fan in the American League because it was associated with Ohio. We got the games that, I could give you the starting lineup for the Indians to this day in 48 or 54 when we won the pennant.
You're loving Bob Feller, I'm sure.
Oh, Bob Feller, early win, Mike Garcia, Narleski, Mossy, you had Larry Doby, you had Dale Mitchell, you had Bob Kennedy in the outfield. You go on and on.
Who was your idol growing up? Who was the,
who's
the player you looked up to?
I really looked up to two players. I looked up to Stan Musial because of the name Louis. St. Louis is the first team I started following. But the guy I really admired was Ted Williams. And let me tell you why. Here was a guy who was tremendous baseball player, but also interrupted his career at the height of it twice to go fight for this country. I think of World War II and in the Korean War. And when I was asked many, many years ago to go speak at the San Diego Hall of Fame. I don't know if people realize, but that was his hometown. And he was there, and I got a chance to spend a lot of time with him. You know what's amazing about him? He was really upset. He thought he was a great pitcher. He thought he was he's like Babe Ruth. He was a pitcher coming out of high school. He thought he was a great pitcher. They made him an outfielder. But, I admired him.
Bob Feller, too.
Oh, Bob Feller. He's out of Iowa. Absolutely. He was the guy that could throw the ball. He's the one that really came up when the Indians weren't very good. But I'll tell you, I used to listen to those Yankee Indian games with Vic Raschi and Whitey Ford. And, you had... I go back to DiMaggio playing center field, et cetera, and just Yogi Berra, and it just brings back a lot of many. Phil Rizzuto.
Coach, do you collect anything? What's in your sports room? I mean, so many, obviously, celebrities, people you've met, golf with, championship. I mean, what's in that sports room? What are a couple of your prime treasures?
Well, I have some baseballs that were signed by the great people. And I give them to my grandchildren. And I tell you, all the championship rings I've won at the different schools and watches, etc., I give them to my grandchildren when I'm still alive. And I think it is really great. And my son Kevin is really great at this. He's great at collecting memorabilia. He has a son who's probably going on 7 right now. And he wants that young man to understand all the great players that he followed, hoping he will follow the great people today. And it's amazing, the memorabilia. I have stuff from bleacher from Notre Dame's stadium, when they enlarged it, etc. But I have baseballs, pictures, but most important of all, I have the memories in my mind. And as I say, I'd rather have my memories than to have my youth. Because I've been blessed. I've been blessed to be around a lot of people. For example, Johnny Lujack was one of my heroes growing up. He wore number 32. He's a quarterback for Notre Dame, won Heisman. Johnny's still living today, excellent golfer, but a great person. I had no idea what a nice person Johnny Lujack. And so what's nice is all these people you read about or you cherish their autograph or their picture to find out what special people they are. That makes life really pleasant.